Good morning from Ribbon Candy Hooking. Very early in the morning. Shocking mess, shocking mess, shocking mess all around. But you know, I thought of something. I'm working on getting some patterns out, and I thought of something that could be interesting for you because a lot of people have been writing on the Facebook page. What do I do with my PDF? What form does it come in? I know, you know that I am not computer savvy at all. I am tech nothing. And it has been a real struggle, an uphill battle trying to figure out what everything means and what form everything takes and what it involves in terms of what you need to do after the fact. So I want to show you, at least if you're getting a PDF from me, what it looks like, what you get, and what you have to do. So for example, I'm working on some patterns here, and I was just taping this together, and it made me think, you know what? I bet people need to see this. Let me put the light on for you. So I'm going to show you from the very start. I have these two orders right now, two of the Nancy Thomases. So one of them, of course, is going to be this angel. I just taped this together. What I do, the other one is the Bichon. What I do is I figure out what size I want the pattern to be, like what the baseline is. So for this one, I wanted it to be, it's about a square, and it's about 15 across. I think the Bichon is the same. So knowing that, I figure that out on my printer. So that's not technical. That's just intense brain power, which is also very hard for me. And I print it out, right? I print it out. You can, when you're looking at when you're dropping your PDF or whatever, if you drop it into a Word file or whatever, however you do it, you can look at the size of it. When you're printing it out, you can look at the size. Your computer will show you all kinds of rulers on the top and side. So you can figure out how big you want it to be. Print it out, and then here's the low-tech part, right? We got this part. This is like a no-brainer. I print it out. I cut off the little edges so that it's perfect. And I'm going to tape them together. So, and then I always cut it off just to not have extra stuff. Got extra stuff all over the place, but in my mind, I need no extra stuff. And I'm just going to tape it to, yeah, this looks like it's also going to be a 15. Got to get this bottom off. It's almost, in the grand scheme of things, in the busyness of things, I always like getting a pattern I haven't done before, because I only have to do this part once, and it lasts about 20 times. When I transfer onto the transfer medium, which I'm about to show you, it lasts a good long time. I can do a lot of patterns out of it. The chance of someone buying Bichon more than 20 times in the next week is remote. But you know what? If it happens, I'll be so happy because I'll have the pattern ready and I'll just boop, 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 get the rest of it done. So yes, this is, I'm sure other people have a higher functioning brain than I've got and have maybe figured out quicker ways to do this. But for me, the low-tech way with getting this together is for me. This is the one for me. So now I've got it taped together. I'm recording a video. Okay. Oh, it only took 2 times. It usually takes 12. All right. So now I'm cutting it out here. And what I'm going to do now, just to be sure, and bring you right over, Bichon, just to be sure that I don't screw up the next part, what I have now is a piece of paper that's the size of the pattern that I want to put on the backing. So this part's done. I've taken it from PDF, which is like a digital form, to a 3-dimensional form. I've got my paper, and now I've even got my paper taped together. So what I do now, and you don't have to do this stage, but I do, I just outline the parts that are more important. This is the information when I'm tracing. By information, I mean lines and shadows and shades and shapes. This is the information that I need when I'm tracing next. Because you can see some of it. You see how the ears are a little bit subtle? And it's important for me at this stage to pop them. Not everything stands out exactly perfectly. And I don't want to lose it in the transfer. Get all the major lines there. Make sure I can see them all. His little nose here like this, and then he's got kind of a dark, he's got a little sparkle in the eye. I don't want to lose that either. And irregular eyes because the little fur is coming out in front of them. And then this bird, if you can see bird over here, is a bit, got my hand right in front of it. That's what I hate, knitting videos. Keep him here. All right. All right, so that looks all right. So, and then it's got kind of a little, so I'm happy with that. That's the information that I need. I can see there's some cloud formations here too. You know, I also want to note what I'm doing here is I'm transferring some of the Nancy Thomas patterns that people have bought. And, you know, Nancy Thomas is a hugely famous artist, and I really, really strive to and hopefully succeed in transferring all of her patterns exactly. So, you know, the amount of detail, this is a very, very simple one compared to some of the Nancy Thomases that I do. This is the simplest one I've had yet. I put a lot of detail in it because I sold it, right? And it's like, this is business for me. I sold it. It's got to be perfect for you. When you're doing your transfer, you decide how much information you need for the backing to have it right in your head. But for me, this is like technical and has to be perfection. So what I'm doing now is I've got my roll of fiber tape, right? This is the fiber tape I buy at Home Depot. It's called Fiba, F-I-B-A tape, T-A-P-E. It's actually a product that used to be known as Crack Stop. I happen to know that the person wrote me and said, do not put the words in it. So normally I would add the words. This time I'm not. I already know not to. So I'm cutting right through the words. Nancy Thomas did so many series of things, and sometimes she uses words like Tuesday, Wednesday, or autumn, fall, and with the dogs' names and stuff, obviously the name, but they're not in all of the art. Not everybody wants to hook the text. So what I'm doing now is I've got my fiber tape, and it's, you know, it's stuck down on here. It's tape. It's not stuck down to the extent where I'm going to have an issue removing it. It comes off pretty easy. Just go slow. So what I'm going to do now is just trace it. I trace my important lines. You know, I prefer to use, almost everything I have is out of ink. Isn't that classic? I prefer for the tracing to use the thicker Sharpies. Just stick with the black. The black is really sort of the indelible, the one that's not going to rub off on anything, and over time has been proven to be very, very, very lasting. The colors less so, you know, the reds, the greens and stuff, sketchy. Stick with your black. So I'm literally tracing the lines of Bichon. It's pretty easy going. This is like such a joy to do one that has simple lines. I did a few of the historic ones recently, and they each took about 2 to 3 hours to draw. At this stage, you know, I'm just drawing it once, catching all the lines and stuff, but the amount of detail is staggering, and that's what makes it beautiful. And I know when people order those patterns that they are really sort of consummate hookers or punchers, and they're looking for something that's challenging, that they can apply all kinds of techniques and detail to. So this one is definitely going to be a little bit simpler, but even in a simpler pattern like this, you can add, you know, your different backgrounds or colors. You can add stuff to it. It doesn't have to be just what you see is what you get. It can be a little bit beyond. So yeah, this pen is running out for sure. There we go. Got my clouded. I'm just going to get the, and of course, if this was you, you might want to change your border at this point or do something a little bit different. Let's get bird in. This little eye. And now I'm thinking about what kind of backing do I want for this. Since it's not my piece, I'm going to see what kind of backing I want. Bichon linen. Okay, so I'm going to put you on pause for a minute while I take out my linen, and I'm going to show you how I transfer it onto there too. Monk's cloth, linen, rug warp, for rug hooking and punch needle. Those are going to be your choices, really, in terms of having something lasting. Scottish burlap, sure. I'll be right back. Okay, so now I've got Bichon. I was experimenting with putting him, I have a piece of linen like this, but then I've only really got 3-inch borders. I like to have a bit more. because you never know. For me, I never know if the person is going to want to do like a big border on it or something. So I like to do a little bit more. So I'm going to end up putting Bichon there and giving a huge border. So when you're peeling, especially if you're using this method, if you're using red dot or a different method for transferring the pattern, then you are doing that at this point. I'm following through with my method because for me, this has always worked the best. Ever since I learned about it from my buddy Mohair Judy. I'm going to try to line things up pretty well here, but I'm going to show you also how I'm going to make sure that it's perfectly lined up. And I'm sure you know this, but with linen, you've really got to, I need my better scissors. It's like a magic show under there. Who's under there? All right. So with linen, you've really got to cut and pull. If you've got linen fabric, I get this beautiful fabric from Michelle Micarelli. Supposed to be shooting over there today. I don't know if I'm going to have time. She's got beautiful stuff. So you actually, with linen, you probably know this, or if you do fabric, you know this. You take one burlap too. You take one little cord where you're going to want to cut and you pull, and then you figure out on the other side, how far. That's quite far actually. Let me do like this. You take one and you pull, and then you pull it both ways so that it creates a little channel, if that makes sense. So I'm pulling this out here, and I'll show you close up in a minute. Again, you only have to worry about doing this with linen. Of course, you can just cut linen, like it's regular fabric. It's just this gives you a not at all jagged edge. So let me show you what I did, just in case you're using linen too. When you pull out one little thread, it creates a little channel. I wonder if you can see that. Yeah, you can see that. So when I pulled out the thread, there's just one thread missing, and you see that little channel. And when you see that little channel, again, same for burlap, it's easier to cut that little channel, right? Because it's a nice little bare line that's telling you, cut me right here. Cut right on there. Kids are in the other room having their fun before school starts. They go to bed so late, but then they want to wake up early to look at video games and catch up with stuff. And I guess why not? I used to watch MTV when I woke up, so I guess what's the difference? So there we go. So you know what? I'm not going to do it on camera, but of course I'm going to either serge or zigzag stitch the edges of this so that it doesn't fray. Get my coffee out of the mix here. You see what's going to happen with that. Murphy's Law. All right. So now I've got Bichon and he's on my backing. So I want it to be super, super, super straight. This is pretty good all around. He's a little bit to the right. Let me give him a little more room to the left. And I'm show you what I'm going to do just to be sure that and I'm sure you instinctively do this, but some things, when you say them out loud, they just click. Or even though you maybe forgot, so it clicks. I'm going to frame him out on the linen because you know how important it is for your pattern to be squared. In other words, you want your borders to be absolutely squared, whether you're dealing with monk's cloth, linen, burlap, rugwarp, whatever. You want your edges to be squared because you want to be able to run a straight line of loops up every side and have it be perfectly square. If it's not, you're going to have all kinds of crazy diagonals and a lot of grief and aggravation. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to catch the bottom line. I give myself a guide that shows me this is where it ends. This is where it ends on this side, and I'm looking at this line. And then I peel back my fiber tape and I draw that line right on that one thread. Again, takes concentration, doesn't take any technical skill. And those are my favorites. So now I've got that corner in, and I'm going to place this in the end. I'm going to place the pattern over my lines because now I trust my lines more than I trust the pattern. The pattern is on fiber tape. It's not squared. But once I finish drawing this rectangle, this will be squared. So I'm going to feel sure about this. Sometimes you got to manipulate it a little bit because the fabric has stretched a little bit on the bolt. And I can see up here, that little line is already there. Come shooting across here. Nothing worse than working on a pattern, wondering what's going wrong and realizing you're not square. So we're not going to set ourselves up for disaster. We're going to set ourselves up for success, right? Something so simple as this. All right, so that is better. It's pretty square, pretty square. It was pretty square in the fiber tape, but that's just a coincidence. This one is a little, you can see the linen's a little bit stretched out underneath, so I'm going to just fool with it a hair to get my corners in place. Just a hair. It's pretty close. And with an empty background, it's not going to really matter a ton, but there we go. That's pretty squared out. This one, oh shoot, look what I did. This one is a bit screwy. So you know what? I'll probably run a second line all the way around the border just to square it out. I dipped down in one corner. I think I'll do that. I know the person who bought this pattern, she's going to be able to figure out I did something stupid there. So I'm just drawing the line over 2 lines instead of 1, but it's better to do that than to have it be oblong and have her start hooking and realize she's not square and then thinking, you know, probably I know she is a good hooker and she knows what she's doing, but even a beginner, I think, would sooner or later realize, So now when I'm tracing from my fiber tape onto the backing, I'm definitely looking at my original. You can also look at your color original if you want to. If that gives you more information, but I'm looking at that as I trace. And I'm going to turn this light off just because it's hard for me to see. I hope you can still see. It's a bit too much of a light. And again, I'm not putting every single detail into this. I'm putting just the information that I need to get it onto the backing to then be able to play with it. If I put every little thing, I'm going to end up retracing it when I peel this off. Because it's going to come out like lines that are slightly interrupted because of the little fiber tape, right? It's only tiny, tiny wisps of plastic or fiberglass or whatever it is in there. I think it's fiberglass. But by the way, fiberglass, even in huge quantities, has never been proven to do anything hideously bad. And using it like this in a contained form with a sticker back, it's not like you're filling your mattress with it, you know what I mean, or your pillow. This is perfectly safe, and people have been using this method for a long time. Wish I knew how long, because I was doing other crazy stuff for so long and struggling. I'm going to get a different pen, a smaller one here. Just move into a different Sharpie. Nothing fancy pansies. There. So you can see, you know, what a short time it takes to go from a computer image to your backing. So now I'm peeling my fiber tape off. And because my Sharpies are so faint, the image is pretty faint. But it's not going to be a problem in this case, because I can see exactly where this is, where all the lines are. And he is a cute little thing. Absolutely adorable little dog. If Buttons the Yorkie would see this, he would be really triggered and challenged just by looking at this. So you can see I'm filling in the lines as I go. It's not hard. If you were using a Sharpie just now that actually had ink in it, imagine that. It would be 90% done. You know, even when I have a nice Sharpie that I'm doing this process with, I still trace over the lines a little bit and work the pattern a little bit after, just to punch it and make sure the lines are very, very smooth, very, very clear, really crisp. You know, your working method is up to you, but I like it when everything is really crisp, really, really. So I always do things in great detail. So I'm going to work more on him and his eyes and all that stuff in a minute. I'm going to work on the background and the clouds too, and I'm going to shut the light off to do that. But the point is that when you get a paper pattern, a PDF pattern, and you print it out on your paper, the process for then getting it onto your backing really is easy. I mean, it really is. It's just a question of taping it together, transferring it with it, whatever your transfer method is. Just get it to the size that you want it. Think about what backing you want. Get your backing already. Get it squared up on your backing. Trace it through. Seal the edges of your pattern piece so they don't fray and play with you while you're trying to work it, hook it, punch it, and then you're there. It's really it. The trickiest part really is if you are a complete beginner, deciding, where do I get my backing material? Which one should I use? There's other videos for that. And it's up to you. My favorite is usually monk's cloth, but most people seem to favor linen. It's a personal choice and they work the same way. If you need help with that, just send me an email or let me know, ribboncandyhooking@gmail.com, or wherever you're finding me here. But real easy. So the trickiest thing is figuring out, how big to print it so that you get the size that you want to work it. You don't want to work it like, on a printer paper size. That would be tiny. Maybe you do, but chances are you want it to be larger. And you don't want to have to go to Staples if you have a working printer at home. So for me, that's the trickiest part, figuring that part out. Even, being so untechnical that even using the printer for me is like I have to work myself up to it in my head, because it's like an event in the day, work in the printer. So that's how bad I am. You're probably way better than that. So you probably will have no problems at all with this method. But if you order a PDF, you will get a computer file. So it's a digital thing that you're buying. It's not a physical product. That's for me, and that's for every PDF I've ever bought. That's how it works. It is not a physical product. So you're going to want to be thinking in your head, if you're abroad and the shipping is just staggering, when you buy PDFs, you're going to want to think about doing something very similar, if not this exact process, to get them onto your backing so that you can work them. But feasibly, you can get something like this onto backing and have it on there. Honestly, anybody, if I can do it within 20 minutes, half an hour, you certainly can. Hope that was helpful, and a bit of a niche thing, but again, I'm going to make this all go away. I will see you soon for coffee time.